Hello, everybody. I'm Karthik. This is my colleague Chetan, and we represent the founders, advisors, and early employees of LT Research. And we will introduce ourselves in a little more detail later on during this presentation. We have something far more important than us to discuss, and that is creating a transformative technology company from India. So I think for us, the first principles approach was important given our training and computer science math backgrounds. This is almost the only way we know how to go back to addressing a problem, breaking it down into the basic questions. And so this formed the agenda of our presentation today. So we're going to ask the what, how, where, when, why, which, and who. So what we're going to do is start off by describing what a transformative technology company means to us, and purely by an LT research definition. How is such technology created? Where are these technologies being created today? When will India invent and own such technology? Why is this important for India to do so? What are our areas of interest within those spheres of technology? And who else do we need Who else do we need to join us on this journey to achieve our goals? So that's our organization, and we're going to go in and start with our first question.
So the slide here really addresses the question of what a transformative technology company is. We want to begin the definition by breaking myths. For example, successful is transformative. Service delivery and process excellence is transformative. A Me Too or a regional, localized business model is transformative. We at LT Research believe that these criteria don't really meet our definition of transformative. The ingredients for transformation are really shown by this picture. We just need to solve for X. We have to start with a large problem, a huge problem, come up with radical solutions, and then use breakthrough technology to execute on those radical ideas. And that is the ingredient for transformation.
So moving on, I think we should also define what meets our criteria, given that we just destroyed a few myths. And I think, for us, I think some basic things matter. We need a product-oriented approach, based on strong intellectual property. We need an absolutely novel approach to addressing that big problem or opportunity. We want to scale and grow the business using a non-linear model. We don't want to just throw people at this problem. You need to have it scalable with a non-linear growth model underneath. We should have global adoption. That's a requirement, because otherwise, we're just going to stay local, stay parochial, and that's not transformative. We need to have a successful outcome, and successful outcome needn't just be money. It could be impact, it could be acceptance, it could leave a legacy. It needn't make too much money, but it provides a platform to do many bigger things later on. And we've sort of said and carved out what we think are successful outcomes. And I think here we put in a representation. Examples always help, I think, defining this world. We talk about our timeline. As you see, I've lost quite a bit of hair, so I'm older than most of you. But, I think for us, defining whom we admire, whom we think are transformative is important. We broke this down by the decade. We are obviously seeing, and this is clearly not an exhaustive list. We think there are many more companies that probably qualify. These are just good examples. I think a lot of these names you guys know. And it's important for us to make that distinction, because we will present to you many companies that you don't know that still have the potential. Hopefully we'll be one of them. The other thing is comparing this to India, and we're going to link this to the fact that we still don't really believe that there are too many examples or any examples right now from India. And you must remember, not just in these companies we put between the 50s to now, had a lot of Indians in CXO positions, founder, VP engineering, CTOs. They made great differences. They were just not in India doing it, or they had an ecosystem available to them, which is not available to us. So it's clearly not an India problem. These are being made by Indians. It's just that we need to do them here too. And I think that's the point we want to make here.
How does one go about making a transformative company or a transformative technology? The first step to that is an utter disregard for what is considered to be possible, or rather impossible. and we need to keep an eye on the practical or the pragmatic, but we need to shoot for the moon. That is the only way to do this. We need slightly crazy people, because I think conservative and conventional people tend to be just conventional. And we need fearless and original discovery of new ways of doing things, doing things in ways which nobody has dreamed about, and create seminal intellectual property which can really translate into massive growth, massive value, and global impact. There are some examples of such innovation that we admire a lot. You'll recognize most of these technologies. The Google PageRank is way up there. We started with paper and tremendous intellectual property. The Apple touch interface with all its innovative features is way up there for us. And the very familiar Skype interface is out of actually a Skype patent. And you can just imagine how much impact that has had over billion people really worldwide.
Yeah, I like the way Chetan sort of made sure that the crazy part we're included. We are crazy. We just have to make that a good thing here. So I think where are these things being done? And this is a great little graphic. It's the startup genome Telefonica report that came out at the end of last year, 2012. And it sort of showed us the top 20 startup hubs, if you may. We ranked 19th, and a lot of the Indian press sort of made that a big deal. We viewed it the opposite. I don't know how many more than 20 are there, and 19th out of 20 is not something that we should be really proud of. The other thing that really bothered me was the trendsetter factor parameter in this thing. We were dead last, which tells you many things, that we are definitely not leading the way. We're doing a lot of following. We're doing a lot of Me Too. Nothing wrong in that. There are probably huge opportunities there. People will make money with the first Amazon clone and the first eBay clone and maybe the second or third one. But that's really not where we are spending our time. And we will tell you a little bit more about ourselves, and you'll sort of connect those dots. So that's really where it is. We need to make sure that not just Bangalore, many other cities in this country start appearing on this list and closer to the top 5. I think this is a good place to ask when in India. And I think we talked about the 19th position of Bangalore. So let's sort of zoom out of that for a little bit. Our sort of landscape, and if you may, this is sort of done by us to fit into this slide, but you will see that there are very big names here. There are some names that you may or may not have heard or you're starting to hear of. But I think this categorization is important, right? We obviously know there are large captive businesses, great successes there, multinational firms that have come in, used Indian talent, first for cost, then for scalability. We've had Indian versions of the same. We've had R&D coming in and using very good academic talent from our country. We've had venture-backed firms in the Valley come and open captive centers in this country. We've had Indian companies saying, let's take what was good for other geographies and bring them to India with a sufficient amount of localization or customization. We've had obviously the great IT services revolution, and hats off to them for creating what they did. It's not easy to make $100 billion industry in 20 years out of nothing. It's an amazing thing that the Infosys, the TCS, and all the others on that list have done. And they've created a talent pool that hopefully now is starting to think more like us. We've had the tier 2, and this is the power of precedence. When one guy does it, the second guy wants to do it, and the third, and the 10th, and the 1000th, and then you have this big momentum, and you create an essentially gigantic industry out of it. And we are hoping that happens with we want to build a transformative ecosystem here. We want to have those big billion-dollar wins, multi-billion-dollar wins, hundreds of billions of dollar wins, and we are questioning who fits in that list. We hope to add our name there someday. Maybe you guys will start companies that will do that, but it's important we start building that list. That list cannot be empty. And maybe there are a few we haven't heard of, but if there are, come and reach out to us. We want to learn from you. We want to engage with you. But remember, it takes just a couple of students to start incredible multi-generational technology companies. We have Microsoft, Google, Facebook there. And all you need is a team that can sort of just be a little crazy, dream, try and get, just put together a problem, put their head down, execute. It'll happen. There's a process to this. This is not a lottery ticket. And we'll show you that in numbers soon.
The innovation-driven intellectual property. Now, why do we need to do this? As an example, or as maybe as a fulcrum for thought, what we are using is a big number here. India's forex reserves at the end of last year, at the end of 2012, was $275 billion. Now that's a large number. But if you just fly across the globe to the other end of the world, in the US, there are 5 companies. We all admire those companies. When you add up their cash reserves, it comes up to about the same number. That's Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon. I mean, that's an amazing, really insight for us as to what breakthrough intellectual property can do to a company and to a nation. There is overwhelming evidence across the globe that innovative technology really builds, rebuilds, and rebrands nations in ways which nothing else can do. We have superb examples not only in the US but also Japan and Israel come to mind in this list. The places where these technologies are being built are really they are hubs hubs of innovation. There is an ecosystem around this where one company or one great breakthrough effort really generates more. There is a whole pipeline of innovation, of entrepreneurship, of leadership, and so on, which is created out of this. So these includes the universities, the R&D centers, the industry R&D centers, academic grants, private grants, angel money, VC money, and this is all revolving around creating an ecosystem which allows you to innovate in a non-linear way. Now, if you look at the scenario for India, this is actually really a great potential for us. We have several limitations, but given that we have so much of talent and so much of really early stages of this ecosystem coming through, we can actually participate in this kind of an activity and have major breakthroughs, not only for us individually, but for the ecosystem, for other companies, for future entrepreneurs, and for the nation.
And I think the point here is also about the internet. Especially the next wave of technologies. Iridium had a great tagline before they died, but they gave us a great tagline which said "Geography is history." And I've always loved that because the internet truly did that for every corner of the world. And given where we see the web going, where we see the internet going, participating especially in internet-based technologies, and you have different words for it, the consumer web, the consumerization of the internet, or whatever else, it doesn't matter. We can, sitting here with all our limitations, participate and contribute to that. So I think that the time is ripe and we just have to start somewhere. So moving on, I think we just wanted to sort of pictorially show you the impact that multiple, areas of fundamental research in IT and what they gave us. And at the bottom of this list, you see digital communications, architecture, software, networking, parallel and distributed computing, databases, graphics, AI, robotics. And this is sort of, again, the same timeline we showed you in terms of the companies we admired, this sort of middle of last century to 2010. And look at what it's given us. It's given us broadband, internet access, microprocessors, personal computing, PCs, the whole cloud game, which is older than all of you guys know. I know people sort of think of cloud as a very big new thing, but it's been around for a while. Enterprise systems, entertainment, and media. I mean, how much technology do we use today in just looking at something that entertains us? And of course, robotics and what's next. And what's next clearly seems to be not just more at the bottom and more at the top, but a combination of a lot of these things. A lot of these things are colliding to give us experiences that we might see through the internet, however disconnected or connected we are. And so the 2010 to 20 is a blank slate, and India can very much participate here and hopefully get a few companies on the very top of that list. We see some absolute stalwarts, some of them which we have mentioned before, and some names, hopefully ours, will be up there. So let's see. So I think we wanted to continue with that. We talked about sort of capital support being available. I was a former VC. Unfortunately, I know too much of this, which is which is important sometimes, but just jargon some other. But capital support is important from a not just a grant perspective, but people who understand the power of equity, the power of involving people right from the beginning. There's angel or seed stage funding or venture capital funding. And I think, tells you what the US market went through. It's a very vibrant market. There are slight ups and downs here, but in the end, regardless of a bubble bursting or a euphoria time, there is money that always chases great companies. And if you see in 2012, there were 3,300 or so companies funded by VCs. Seed and angel money is unbelievable. There are over 1,000 active angel groups today in the US, maybe more. And they're constantly looking for the next big piece. A lot of these guys made their money by cashing out on the startup success that they were part of. We hear about the PayPal gang and the Facebook mafia and whoever else, but these are all early employees there. They now have millions of dollars in their bank account, and they're willing to do this for new startups. So this is an important piece, capital support. We're starting to see some activity in India around this. Once we get past the Me Too and regional problems, I think people will focus on a global impact problem, and hopefully all of you will either participate in that somehow. So that's from the capital support. I think we wanted to also talk about the next slide, please. The pipeline. Again, a lot of you know these big names, the Facebooks, the Googles of the world. I have maybe, maybe 200 names or 80, 90 names here, which is several of them you may not have heard of, but look at the amount of capital that they've raised. And this is in the last 100 days. I limited this list to not even 100 days. We're on March 17th, so it's really speaking 87 odd days. And this is people who have raised about $10 million at least, and there are several more that have raised less. And they might have been formed before, and they've raised a lot more money, but they have raised money now because they have a plan to grow their business that they've started maybe months ago or years ago. And several of them we may not have. Now, let me also point out there are many companies here that have Indian co-founders, people who have trained in the colleges in India, IITians, BITSians, NITians, who have gone to the US, experienced the startup themselves, worked in a larger company, seen the power of equity, want to do it themselves, raised capital, learned how to scale this, build intellectual property. And, we don't know some of these companies, and there are thousands more that we can put on this list.
So, Karthik, these are companies that have raised 10 to 100 million in the last
87 days. Right? And and these are all technology companies, the way we define them. Several of them could become transformative. Several of them we might use soon. I mean, some names, SurveyMonkey, several others, we are using them to do things in India. So, it's amazing. This pipeline, it's not just about what's been done before, it's what's coming and what will keep coming. And I think we need to start somewhere. We need to put the first, second, third, fifth, and then we'll get there, right? We can't get there with zero. Which we invented, by the way, so which is interesting. The last thing on this slide, just to make sure that people understand liquidity and where a lot of this capital comes back into the system. Look at just 2012. A lot of this data is available. It's not, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we wanted to give you a sense that a lot of people will come and say there are lottery tickets out there. You can't just be part of Facebook. You're so lucky to be part of Google at early or some other company. But there are so many companies, 250 companies that have got acquired between 0 and 500 million. Early employees there have a few $1 million in their bank accounts, right? This is a life-changing number. You don't have to be just thinking, oh, you know what, I have to be an early employee and I have to be as lucky as Facebook. No. In most of these companies in the previous slide, several of them are going to land up on the charts in the first few bars on this chart. And look at, this is just on the acquisition side. Look at the IPO side. I will guarantee you that we've talked about a Facebook, we've talked about Palo Alto, we maybe talked about a Kayak, companies that we may know in India. I know there are several, some of these are billion-dollar IPOs. Workday, Indian guy who started it, Anil, I think Busri is his name, I can't get his name right. And some of these have billion-dollar valuations today. We have a few more coming up. Palantir, again, has Shyam in there as a forward deployed engineer. He heads their whole strategy group. Indian guy, goes out there, makes a huge difference. This is a huge big data company waiting to happen. So, and then hot off the presses, in the last few days, we've seen LinkedIn buy a news app company for $100 million, raised very little money. Dropbox acquired Mailbox day before yesterday. They raised $5 million and been acquired for somewhere between 75 and $100 million. Facebook hasn't given us the numbers, but they're buying design company Hot Studio. They're buying a storytelling company called Storylane to make their timeline better. So this is all happening in parallel, and everything feeds off everything else. So we just wanted to make this point that we need to start, because we'll get here, but we need to start.
The next question is why India needs to build its ecosystem. So one of the ingredients that the young talent needs to really learn about is to really leverage their ability to take risks. You enjoy building things, you enjoy inventing new things, and be a part of a big picture early on. So rather than sitting like a little cog in a very large wheel, the other end of which you will never see, just imagine the joy of doing something, the result of which is really visible in a very short time. In a couple of years, you know that you're going somewhere and you're building something great. So the basic idea here is to really not look at the highest salary or the top dollar options, but also look at exciting new opportunities, because you have the ability to take that risk up front. Right now, you have no responsibilities, and you have the energy, and you have the ability, the talent. We have seen that, because some of the same youths are going elsewhere and building path-breaking companies and technologies. So this is the right time. India needs to build its ecosystem right here, and then we'll see the domino effect kick in soon enough.
And I think we sort of made a table with some of these sort of mindset questions that are important for us to, or you to know. We've actually been lucky enough to experience some of these questions earlier in our lives, and we'll go over that. But and what you can do about it, because I think as you face placement season, or as you face decisions, as you have conversations with peers, friends, neighbors, parents for advice on what to do, you're so fortunate to be able to have these degrees and be able to attract so many companies looking for you guys. I think it's important to ask these questions just to yourself, alone in a room. Take some time, ask yourselves about what it means to earn X rupees today versus being a small owner of a company soon enough, right? Ask about what it means to work for a company that none of your peers or parents have heard about versus a big brand. Are you willing to have that fight to educate them, saying, this is what we need to do, right? Talk about your own risk appetite. You'll be surprised at some of the answers. You'll be surprised at saying, look at your older brother, look at an older friend who has an EMI or who has children, and you don't have those responsibilities. Someday you'll be fortunate or unfortunate to have those. But today you are, footloose and fancy free. So you can actually take higher risks, right? And what's the big deal? Maybe you'll be paid $1 lakh less than your friend, but you might be part of something very special, right? The whole parental involvement, the whole growth expectations, the optimism that you have, whether you want to be in a mediocre sort of place where everything is chalta hai, or do you want to try and do this moonshot thing, right? What's the harm, right? Do you want to have a local versus global mindset, right? If one of you can go and work for a Facebook and change the way I connect to my old school buddies, why can't we do something similar here? Right, and you can think globally from here. Why can't we build cutting-edge intellectual property? We've kind of almost forgotten to do that in this country for the last few decades, and we need to get back there. We need to, improve design. We need to improve our experience. We have to have the whole academic ecosystem of strong PhDs, that type of thing that Stanford, MIT has. We need to build more collaboration. Maybe some of these things are not in your control, but we need to start somewhere. We need to have the benefit of precedence. In the end, you want one success story that nobody can dilute and say, this is a company that came out of India. I was a part of it. I made it happen. And I'm gonna tell anybody who says it can't be done, hey, I did it. Right? And venture funding or any other capital support, listen, the story always is, I've been one for a long time, good, capital always follows good companies. Usually, they are not the ones chasing money. And so I think this is an important tool for you guys to use and think about it. We're happy to discuss this more offline, but I think this is something that you guys need to do right now, right, as you make big decisions.
So the creation of value via equity is a very important subject. I think that most of us do not have this kind of insight early in our careers, and that is really detrimental to the potential value that we can create out of our own lives. It's money left on the table, basically. So it is really invaluable training to be a catalyst in a viral effect, in a domino effect into something which can really go wild and global in a short time. We did talk about this a little bit. It's about a little bit about the ecosystem. One a very good metric, if you will, is a lot of the people who are in early stage in a startup end up starting something big, sometimes something bigger at a later stage in their life. It's a tremendous school right out of school, and you learn a lot. You know how to build stuff, and you keep on building it throughout your career, and that is really empowering. On the other side, right? I mean, the other side of the story is the placements program. I mean, I've seen that side of the world. All of us have. There is the sort of the loaded dice playing here, where the placement programs are really not programmed or not designed for startups, for doing your own thing, for trying out really path-breaking companies or potentially path-breaking companies. You go after the top salary, you work for the bank that pays you the highest monthly salary. Maybe it is 20,000 rupees more than your best buddy who is in a lesser bank. I mean, all that goes on, and that is certainly not transformative in any way. We think that it is almost a crime that the top, the top computer science minds are really not building software, not really building large products, which they certainly are capable of building.
Yeah.
So these are difficult conversations with your parents, with your neighbors, with your girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it is. They can be difficult conversations, but the access that we wanted to give here is to the power of building something right from the ground up, participating in the upside, and then looking at the other side, and really having the gumption to go and convince them and tell them, look, this is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it. They will listen. We know that for a fact.
And now we'll numerically prove it to you. So we are numbers guys. What to do?
we are numbers guys. So here's a little bit of a chart which we have prepared. There is a average column, and there is a 95th percentile column. This is what we believe top computer science undergraduates, BTechs are making today, and these are good numbers. These are very impressive numbers. If you go down the list and you see that somebody who's a really star performer in a big company, in your biggest bank or your MNC, is going to really climb up quickly and make a lot of money over the next 5, 6, 8 years and so on. What we have done in the lower half of the table is really add this all up and do all the tax thing and just compute the value that you create at the end of 15 years. And here is the number. I mean, it's right here in front of you. We are really seeing at the end of 15 years, you would have created maybe $500,000 to $750,000 range of value. That is a lot of money. I mean, given where most of us are coming from, and also where we started from, and our previous generation and parents, that's a large amount of money. But the test really fails at the global scale. Because when you look at the kind of money that's put on the table, the kind of money that the potential startups which could have come out of some of these bright minds and could have created, I mean, this is small change, really, more or less small change. You can really build up something very quickly. In a couple of years, you will know that you have created far more than you would create in half a career, 15 years, and the only access to doing this is to build your own startup. I mean, join a successful startup very early, do something very early, get into the equity. Equity is very, very important. We need to educate people more on this. Talk about it and think about it, because this is, I think, this kind of education is unprecedented in the colleges that we have seen. So this is really the bottom line, that if you really want to create the large value that you have the potential to create, the only way to do it is through startups like us.
Yeah, and regardless of LT research being successful or not, hopefully you will see us evangelize this. This is something that is very, very, dear to us, and we will show up at every campus if necessary and do this education. This should become part of what you guys are aware of. We've been lucky enough to experience it, so it's important that you spend some time here. And again, we're happy to take questions about this, or be reached out to whenever you guys want to.
So can we just say that what you are leaving there by taking the X dollars more salary right out of campus and not really opting for some exciting new startup which you may have thought of, for example, is really money left on the table? I mean, that's a pot of gold right there, and we are really inviting all of you, all of us, to rethink about this.
Sure. Yes. So I think we've talked so much about sort of this big topic, and I think we have to also tell you about where we have chosen our little area to play. We are here talking to you from a small apartment in the center of Bangalore, but our ambitions are big. And we thank this person named Nova Spivak, whom we have borrowed this chart from. And so, if you have gone to our website, and please do if you haven't, it's ltresearch.com. You will see we are in stealth mode, so there is some level of information sharing that we are restricted to, but at the right time we will make this more accessible. But we are playing in what we think is a very interesting part of where the future of the web or the internet is. So yes, if you want to use current jargon, we are talking about consumer web. We're talking about some enterprise usage of our platform and our product. But we are very, very excited by where the web's going to go, and powered by the internet, and powered by where all of us want to do things with both information organizing as well as the experience around that organization. So those are our two big sort of keys: organizing information, which several amazing companies already do, and we have a different take on it, and then being able to consume that organization and contribute to it in a specific way, in a very, very sort of visual and a very very dramatic way, which we think hasn't been done before. So there's lots of interesting. We can use all the big data, cloud, AI, machine learning, all those tags that you guys keep hearing other companies do. But that's our little space of operation, and I think we will tell you more as we make progress.
So all the keywords aside, may I just say one thing?
Yes,
that this is about the next generation of experience around information and any kind of information that you can think of. And we do want to say that there is a lot of multimedia, there is 3D graphics, there is very high quality, high grade visualization that's involved, and all the other keywords can be thrown in. But this is about experiencing data in a way which hasn't been done so far as we know.
It's a big problem. Sometimes intimidates us, so we'll see. So I guess who we are, I'll start, and we've my own background. I grew up in Chennai, and I went to the US to a small school in the Midwest. I got a computer science and math degree. So that's my basic training. Whatever else I do, I end up coming back here. But my big break was working at probably one of the greatest places of technology that humankind has experienced. And both Chetan and I have that diamond in our resume, and we're very proud of it. And we tell our children these stories. So I worked at the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I worked on many things right out of college. I worked there during college and right out of college. And I got to work on this mission to Jupiter, which was just phenomenal. And there was a common saying there, which I'll share with you, saying, it's lots of technology companies ask why, and that's sort of their big DNA. Technology companies that want to push the envelope ask why not. In JPL, it was none of this. It was when, right? When are you going to do this? Don't tell me it's hard. Don't tell me it's difficult to imagine. All of that was unacceptable. Things like next generation, cutting edge, state of the art. If you are using those words, don't even enter the campus, right? It's just really innovative thinking, 7,000 PhDs, some amazing people. And I got to work and publish and work on research and write and do a great data product. I wrote one of these software product called Data Reduction Manager, which is still used, I believe. And it was a lot about what this was before the time big and deep data became jargon. This was real big and deep data. After that, I got to do my own startup, which was successful in India in the late 90s. And then I went on to become a venture capitalist in early stage technology for the next 11, 12 years. And then did that in the US, learned that business in the US, and then came back here and have done it for a decade. And so I've put out $100 million in over 20 companies and really been close to technology. So now I want to come back and be an entrepreneur again, maybe, and try and see and help companies. I advise several other product startups in India and abroad. But this is where I think I can contribute. So that's my background, and I have pretty pictures to show some of the work I did, and so does Chetan. So here we go.
I'm from Bombay. I did my BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Bombay way back when. And then I went to the US to get my PhD from the University of Maryland. I never completed my PhD, and I joined a startup company before the name startup was coined really, and I did a very, very exciting work in the field of digital signal processing. I left that company and went to Bell Labs, and that is something that I've always been proud of, because just to give you an example, in my early days at Bell Labs, there were nice stories. Like, for example, if you wanted to use a Smith chart, and I hope someone here knows what a Smith chart is, right? So if you want to use a Smith chart and you can't figure it out, you go ask Smith, because Paul Smith was in that building, right? So it was an amazing place, really. And by osmosis, you just imbibe all that coolness, if you will, and it's just there. So I had a great time. I worked on what was probably one of the first media servers, voice over IP media servers ever at Bell Labs. And I also did some very exciting, very fun work in embedded speech recognition technology and using it in many different ways, including speech pathology and so on.
The second thing I want to say is both of us went to grad school in the University of Maryland, College Park, so go Terps. So,
Precisely.
So who are these crazy people?
Who are these crazy people? Right? So there is the first thing that we look for in terms of personality is contrarian thinking, and that's a little bit of the when aspect rather than why or why not. Really, to break out of conventional thinking about technology, invent new ways of doing things, invent multiple new ways of doing things, and just shoot for the moon ideology here. So of course you can shoot for the moon, but this kind of audacious innovation, as we called it here, needs to be implemented. So there's somebody that has the really the ability and the power to really go and implement it. And we are looking for a little bit of a streak of invented in India pride here, that I do want to do this out of here, out of India. Because one of the early questions that we faced when we were talking in stealth mode about our idea, that why not do it from the beta? That's the right place to do this, and that's a fair question. But we are really challenging ourselves, challenging the ecosystem, and challenging you to make it possible from here. So that streak is needed. We call it patriotism, call it lunacy. Fine. Shooting for the moon, lunacy fits well. We're looking for highly gifted, really off the charts gifted computer scientists and applied mathematicians who are exceptional at writing code. I mean, that is sort of the given DNA here. Unless we have that, we are not going to be able to build world-changing technology, which is what we have set out to do. And the interest graphs, there are multiple different keywords that we have already mentioned. Big data, yes. Web scale architecture, yes. And next gen experience creation, yes. 3D graphics and visualization, yes. All of these are in. These all fit into the bucket as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, I think, and I love this graphic, and I thank the new program at the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. They have this program called the Bachelor of Innovation, which is fascinating. It's aimed at computer scientists, engineers, some designers, and people who want to take great academic training and add those few skills necessary to become an innovator as well. I mean, we should be thinking about a program like this at the universities you guys are going to. And I love this graphic, and I'm very happy to borrow it from them. And we are really looking for people who fit in that little area that we have specified. And I think it matches all the sort of criteria of personality that we've talked about to the left. So, think about this, see where you fit. We have some requirements. We are on a journey. A startup is risky enough, and we can't make the mistakes that we know we shouldn't make. We will make plenty that we don't know yet. So this is important. It sort of tells you the DNA of the people that need to join us, and we're being very strict about certain things, and we naturally have to be. So that's the who, and we hope some of you are listening to this and will contact us soon.
Risk is a much maligned word. We are not using it in a bad way.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Risk is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, and learning from failure is a fantastic thing, right?
Yeah, I think that's the best education that human beings have invented.
Sure, you guys are young. You guys can do this. We of course are endeavoring to be one of those transformative technology companies in India, from India, and our vision is to build some amazing things in the space that we talked about in that picture. We have a fairly interesting team of co-founders, advisors, early employees, and other people associated with us. We've been fortunate enough to be trained at some of the better places, like some of you have, around the world. We've worked at amazing places. We're carrying that experiences. We're carrying the good wishes of former bosses, colleagues, friends, family, to be able to go out and do this. The important thing is that we are funded, so we are able to attract and treat the talent that's going to come in right and support them for the future. And that's how we've started this company. Given my background and several of the others, we know the importance of that comfort there. So that's important for you to know. And of course, we are strongly committed to doing this, and we will do it whatever it takes. Success is to be determined. We won't know the future. If we did, then we will not be here. We'll be predicting the weather, buying some stock, but winning some lottery tickets predefined. But that's not the way to make this.
But startups are not lottery tickets.
Yeah, startups are not lottery tickets. So there's a process, guys. There's a real process. We've shown you the power of equity. It's important for you to go back and understand the steps. For every one Facebook or Google or whatever else that you've heard of, there are so many more that you haven't heard of that have already monetized and made some money. These people are not resting on their laurels. Some of them also say, hey, we made $5 million. We're retired at 27. No, they're going out and becoming employees again at young startups or starting their own. They want to do this over and over again because they've just understood it. It's like a little Kool-Aid that you drink and you can't get past it. So imagine yourselves in that atmosphere. Imagine yourselves with that opportunity. We can very well do it here. We are so blessed to have the resources that we have. So this is where we are. And I think on our final slide we have how to get in touch with us. Our website will keep getting updated.
If you feel like drinking our Kool-Aid, here's our coordinates.
Yes, right.
Please reach out to us.
Yeah,
if you want to just say hello or want to know more, feel free to reach out.
And if you want to have an adventure, come and join us. It'll be fun. That's what. So we'll
joyride for sure. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to interact with you guys again soon.
Yeah. Thank you for listening and
take care. Good luck.
Yeah.